adopting renewable energy directly contributes to several of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But the next question then becomes, how might renewable resources drive economic growth alongside sustainability? Well, to shed more light on the subject, we're joined by a fireside chat of distinguished domain experts. And I ask that, Amita, you please do the honors in introducing our guests.
And of course, just before we do that, let's in the meantime also talk about the subjects that we have been dwelling on, because it is important to note all of the topics that we have been talking about, how important and how much importance do they have in today's lives and how much it impacts us. Let's in the meantime invite on stage Dr. Vibha Dhawan, the Director General of TERI, which is the Energy and Resources Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us here on stage and joining us virtually is Erik Solheim, who is the former Under Secretary General of the UN, President of Europe and Asia Center. In the meantime, let's also invite Shreya back on stage for this discussion. Shreya.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Much more ahead. Stay alert. And with that, over to you, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Thank you, ladies. Hello again, everybody. This time we're talking about renewable energy. It's something very important. And, you know, it's said that everything that we do and everything that we create causes pollution. And if you say that I don't do anything that creates pollution, you're lying, you're a liar. So with that, let's talk about renewable energy and the adoption of renewable resources for economic growth, how it impacts economic growth. My two distinguished guests, Erik Solheim is joining us from Norway, I believe, Erik.
I'm actually in Paris at the moment, but very happy to be with you in Delhi.
Right, okay. Erik, let me start with you then. When we talk about renewable energy and how it impacts economic growth of a country, in the Indian context, how can we understand it in terms of it impacting and creating jobs in terms of skill?
Absolutely. We are at the crossroads of human history. Look, in the past, if a nation wanted to grow, bring people out of poverty, there was just one pathway. It must be based on fossil fuels and on coal. That's what the Brits did as the first, the Germans, the Americans, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, and now Indians. Every nation built its prosperity on coal, not because they believed it was good for the health or because they believed it was good for nature, but it was the only way to prosperity. So that's so much the 20th century. Now in the 21st century, we have a completely new development paradigm before us for the simple reason that the price of solar energy has fallen by 90% in the last decade. The price of wind energy has fallen nearly as much, and we know how to store energy. Look, as an example, in the Indian state of Gujarat, the Adani Group is now starting building what will be the largest solar and wind plant on planet Earth. Is 30 gigawatt. To put that in context, well, that's 6 times as much as the energy grid of Nigeria, which is the biggest nation in Africa. It's as much as the total hydropower production of my nation, Norway. So it's huge, huge, huge. And knowing Gautam Adani is not doing this just because he's an environmentalist, but of course because he can make jobs and prosperity and profits and make money. Is simply a very viable business option while doing good for India and the global environment all the same. So going green, going into renewables is now very, very good for an economy and very good for the environment at the same time.
Okay. Dr. Vibha Dhawan, you know, India's taken a lot of initiatives when we talk about renewable energy. Say, for example, the International Solar Alliance and the kind of, small steps that we've taken which cause a large impact. In terms of what the government is doing towards the greener economy, could you help us understand what steps have been taken?
Well, thank you for this question. And I'll put it this way, that in Glasgow during COP, our Honorable Prime Minister, he had made certain commitments, and that is in terms of going net zero by 2030, increasing capacity for renewables and 50% of the total energy coming from renewable energy. Now that commitment could only be made because he had confidence that we can generate that much energy by renewable energy. I'll just come back a bit that why renewable energy is so important for our country. We all know, unlike many other countries, we hardly have any fossil fuel. We only have coal, which again is not of the best quality, and we have to import every drop of oil that is needed for manufacturing. Indirectly, that has also impacted our growth because we are not really economically viable in the export market. Our production cost is much higher than many other countries which have inherited fossil fuels. So if we look at renewables, and I come from an institute which was earlier the Energy and Resources Institute, and now it is the Energy and earlier it was Tata Energy Research Institute, and now the Energy and Resources Institute, which was set up in 1974. We have just completed our 50 years of existence, and we were set up by Tatas with their foresight that what is the most limiting factor for India. And that limiting factor identified was energy, and that's why we started working on renewable energy in 1974. Now, what was the main problem at that stage? And we all will realize that India is a price-sensitive market. In a way, polluter doesn't have to pay, and therefore, irrespective of how energy is produced and how it is being used, whether it is going to be polluting or not, we kept on using it. And that is what, when we ask today, what is the main reason for climate change? And I'll say that 90+% of us citizens on this planet will say industrialization. Now, what industrialization essentially means that we have used fossil fuels that has resulted in greenhouse gas emissions, and that have changed the entire planet. We have, because of the emissions, we have higher temperatures, we have precipitation which is not normal, extremes of temperatures, extremes of everything, whether it is temperature, precipitation, so everything is haywire today. And all that is just with 1.15 degrees increase in global temperature. Even if we stop today, we are saying it won't be less than 1.5, but the way we are moving, it will end up above 2 degrees. So you can imagine what this planet is going to be. So we have no other way than to go for renewables. Now, renewables, if we look at sun's energy, that's infinite. So it's always going to be there. So what we actually have to do is how do we capture it better? How do we increase efficiencies? Photovoltaics, are we able to reuse the critical minerals that are used in those panels? How do we bring down their cost? Similarly, if you look at hydro, you look at wind, all those energies are available. It is how do we capture it and how do we use it, because they are going to be far less polluting.
Okay. For those of you who are active on Twitter and follow Erik on it, Erik, let me be honest, I'm a big fan of all the videos that you put on Twitter from across the world. They're very interesting, they're lovely videos, sometimes they're heartwarming videos. But talking about the lessons that India can learn from other countries in terms of adopting renewable energy resources, what would you say would be the top 3?
I mean, there is absolutely no doubt that China is now far ahead of any other nation on renewables. I mean, I know that there are tense situations between China and India, and that Indians so quite often don't really want to learn from China. China is far ahead of anyone else. 60% of everything, solar, wind, hydropower, electric batteries, electric cars, are now produced in one nation alone, which is China. This week, I visited Xinjiang province of China, where they have started what is now, I mean, Adani will be the biggest solar plant in the world in the future, but now the biggest solar plant is in Xinjiang, is 4 gigawatt. Well, that's as much power as it can power the entire nation of, say, Laos or Cameroon. So just this one plant is enormous, and it will soon grow much, much, much bigger. So I think the lessons learned for India, but India is very strong on it. You need a strong government who can make the direction, give the vision, set out what you want to achieve, and Prime Minister Modi is providing that in India. You need a very vibrant business. You need companies like Tata, as Vibha mentioned, or Adani or Reliance. I mean, these captains of Indian industry is now going green. Look, Adani made his fortune in coal. Now he's going into green, into solar and wind. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. And you need this huge amount of medium-sized companies, like there are many of them in India, Avadi, Renew, so many others. So strong leadership, vibrant business, and then you need a dialogue with the local people where you want to develop renewable energies, because look, a huge solar plant is huge. It's not small and cozy and just on the roof. It takes an enormous space, the same with windmills. And then the local people must be engaged so that they see the benefit of getting it in their community. That problem is very limited in Gujarat because it's a salty desert. No one is living where Adani is setting up the solar and wind plant, but normally that will not be the case. There will be people living, even in deserts, are normally nomads. So you need a conversation with the local people so they also see benefits in this massive rollout of solar and wind. So India can learn most from China, but India is also very, very strong in its own sense now.
Dr. Vibha Dhawan, you know, India is a country which has thousands of villages. We've got a rural economy that is now gradually also seeing the adoption of renewable energy resources. How much of an impact is that happening? Do you think it's going to help the rural economy in a substantial way?
Well, if India has to develop, that development has to come from the villages. And that's where I say renewable is going to play a very important role. Now, let's look at what was happening in the villages before. You look at the problems with them. They had no access to clean fuel even for cooking purposes. They were not electrified. And with the result, their day was of 8 to 9 hours. That's all. So whether they work in the villages, in the fields, or they send their kids to school, it was only 7 to 8 hours that was available to them. You look at the productivity, and I'll give you certain examples where we are working, and one such example is from Muradabad. Now, we gave them solar energy for this brassware production. Now, when I went to that cluster and I asked them, are you benefited? And the answer was, you can't imagine the benefit to me and my family. Because earlier what was happening, first of all, on any day, he has his labor sitting over there, and if there is a power cut, he has to pay the laborers. His orders will get cancelled because he was unable to supply on time. So the benefit is not just in terms of saving money, it is indirect benefit. Now let's come to a poor farmer. What he is doing, he's producing perishables. So the entire thing, if they are able to sell, he's always a loser. If the productivity is low, he suffers. If productivity is high, again the prices crashes in the market, and therefore he hardly get any price. So if we now give them solar dryers, we give them even the cold chambers, they can be made with the help of solar energy. So now he will have capacity to store it till he gets better price in the market. He will be able to at least store the vegetables for taking care of nutrition for his own family, and he'll sell the surplus in the markets outside. So he will not lose. Let's look at biogas, because earlier it is waste, and you talk of methane generation. Methane is far more potent than carbon dioxide and so on. But then if this waste becomes a wealth for him, he can get biogas, which is a clean fuel for him. And what he's otherwise getting is the biogas slurry, which can be used as a manure, which we talk of organic manure or organic food production today. So it becomes win-win. The entire thing, waste is taken care of, his productivity is increasing, he's able to store it and go to the market when he's getting good prices. He's able to process because with value addition, they can get more money, and their health, because of better nutrition as well as cleaner fuel, is going to improve. So the rural economy will only grow if we take care of these things. And on top of this, I'll also like to mention one more thing, and that is what we are talking today about carbon credits. Yeah. Because farmer is also eligible to get, if he shifts from burning firewood to clean cook stoves, he can also get carbon credits for cleaner technologies. So that becomes like double or triple income for the farmer.
Can I also ask you at this moment, Dr. Dhawan, you know, you and I can talk about it, we can formulate policies, we can talk about them, but is the last woman and the last man in the queue being sent out this absolute message that the government is trying to put through its schemes, through its policies? Because a lot of times the government has a great intention of doing the welfare of the farmer or the people or the last man standing in the line. But when it comes to implementation, wahan tak baat hi nahi pahunchti hai.
Well, I won't agree with you now, because the world has changed in last few years quite a bit, and especially India, if we look at it. There are a couple of things. One is that why should we expect everything to come from the government? It's also responsibility of the corporates who are working in those areas. Why not Mother Dairy and NDDB, they come forward, and that's what they are doing. And you'll be surprised that even companies, the automobile companies, they have also become very serious in terms of bio-CNG. They want that. And therefore, they are also putting CSR money, how these projects can be implemented at the village level. So it has to be a mass movement. We all need to realize we have only one planet to live in. So if I'll say if the developing countries or rural areas in the developing countries, they keep on polluting, there are no boundaries, the air doesn't have any boundaries. So it's going to have impact on you. So therefore, it's a collective responsibility of each one of us.
That's true, and I think we living in the national capital know what air pollution is, what water pollution is,
Absolutely.
what water crisis is, what severe heat wave is, all of that. What is left that we haven't unfortunately suffered in the national capital? Ab bacha kya hai? Sab kuch seh liya hai humne, ma'am.
You're absolutely right, but that's what, abhi bahut kuch bacha hai. If we want to survive, tomorrow will be too late. We have to take action today.
That is
and
true.
We all have to be sensitive. Why RO water?
That is true.
So one end you take RO water and then you decide to have tablets, multivitamin tablets and minerals and so on. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, and I said this in my last session also. RO ka jo pani wo pipe se nikal raha hai side mein, uske niche balti rakhiye, keep a bucket so you save that water also instead
Absolutely.
of wasting it. And these are the tiny steps, ma'am, that actually help.
And you know, somewhere it is also dealing with the policy, because I always say distorted pricing for water. The other day I had gone to Mukteshwar and so many hotels had come up over there, and I said, why not to set up a unit over here for recycling of water? And we have a technology in Terry, and I said it will cost almost 2 rupees a liter. And then immediate answer was, you won't have any buyers because we get 1 rupee a liter. I said, how can it's a 1 rupee a liter delivered here? So it was that there is a nearby waterfall. So the only cost is of the tanker, filling it from there and delivering there. So it's 1500 rupees for 1500 liter tanker. So it's for free. So this is a resource which is not free, and therefore we have to take care of our natural resources and price them.
Yeah. Erik, you know, I come from a state in India called Himachal Pradesh. It's a state of beautiful mountains, of beautiful waterfalls and rivers. And, you know, Himachalis pride themselves in the fact that they can just walk around the river and they can drink water from it directly. But unfortunately, that has reduced over a period of time. Now we have to think twice when we see that river and we want to drink water from it. We have to think twice because it might be polluted. Across the world, Erik, do you see that happening? Do you see, there is, I feel, a lot of awareness that has come when it comes to renewable energy, but when it comes to implementation, perhaps not that much. We're probably lazy. It's convenient for us to have a comfortable lifestyle. And, it's just easy to talk and not take action. Words are always easier.
I very much believe in what I get from also what Vibha said. We need a people-centered approach to renewables. It cannot be a technology-centered, it must be people-centered. What does that mean? Well, when Prime Minister Modi, after the opening of Ram Mandir, came back and said that Lord Ram is also about energy and launching a scheme of 10 million or 1 crore rooftop solar in India, that's people-centered because every individual with a small farmhouse or a residential dwelling can then use the digital system and get renewables on his or her roof, taking no risk. The risk is taken by the companies and by the governments and the bank. That's very people-centered. Another example is where to put up solar panels. I mean, if you do it in the deserts of Rajasthan or in the desert of Gujarat or Madhya Pradesh, where there is a large space, or maybe outside the coast of Tamil Nadu, there will be limited the issues with the local people. But if you do it in the Ganga Valley or in Bihar, where there is an enormous population, it must be a people-centered approach. For instance, finding ways of combining agriculture with solar panels. I've seen that now massively in China. People are raising chicken under the solar panels. They're growing tomatoes under the solar panels. They are growing grasslands for sheep herders under the solar panels. So the farmers get double income. They benefit from the solar panels as well as from the agriculture, making the life in the villages richer. You can also now get solar panels in all colors. So if you want to integrate in, say, a historical village where you want to look like the historical heritage, you can get solar panels which are not blue, but they can be pink or yellow or red or whatever, green or whatever color. So it fits better with the local environment. Himachal is a wonderful, beautiful state. But look, it's possible to clean up if there are some polluted rivers. China has basically cleaned up the rivers in the last 10 years. It took a much longer in Europe, but European rivers are also quite clean. I'm now in Paris, and during the Olympics, they plan for some of the swimming competitions to be in the River Seine, which is crossing through Paris. A few decades ago, it was a horribly polluted river. Now you can swim in it. So with the strength of the modern state and making it a business opportunity, also the cleanup of rivers are absolutely possible. But I think the most important is the attitude, center on people, their life, their benefits, rather than on technical solutions. They will come if you take a people-centered approach.
Ma'am, India's taken steps towards decarbonizing its industry. Say, for example, the green hydrogen mission. Do you see that creating a long-term impact in terms of our economic growth and, the kind of steps that we want to take in the near future when we talk about renewable energy?
Yeah, that's what I told you in the beginning, that India is proactive.
Yeah.
And, you have to be very serious what India is and the kind of pledges we have taken. We are still developing. Our emissions are yet to be peaked, and still we are saying that by 2070 we'll be net zero. So unlike many other countries, whether we see US or Europe, more or less they have peaked in terms of their emissions. So for them to say there will be reduction is far simpler than for India. Now, while it's a challenge, I'll say it's an opportunity as well. Right now, we always say our per capita consumption of energy is very low. It is largely low, not because of you and me. It is low because people in rural India, they don't have access to energy. It is because many of our fellow citizens cannot afford energy. They cannot afford air conditioning, but the day their income goes up, it will be two-wheeler, four-wheeler, air conditioners at home and so on. So even in terms of their energy consumption, it is going to go up. So this becomes the challenge. How do we ensure? Now, when I say it's an opportunity for us to show the way to the world, because we don't have to break and build infrastructure. We will be building new infrastructure, learning from others' mistakes. Like the previous discussion, which was on sustainable infrastructure and buildings. We know that there is building material which is far more sustainable, both in terms of production and taking heat stress, or heat will remain cool and so on. Same is true with the factories. So energy efficiency, putting renewables as part of it, and in hard to abate sectors like steel and cement, hydrogen perhaps will be the way. So we, right from the beginning, now we are integrating, and there is also ESG, that the companies will have to report how responsible they are in terms of environment. And I'm sure the awareness is to the level that as consumers also, we are going to look at that company's ESG report and only buy the products from those which are more responsible than buying from anywhere. It's a price-sensitive market. So I'll put it this way, that whatever the low-hanging fruits were, they have already been plucked, and now it's the time that we are looking for new energies. Another challenge before us is that the technologies developed elsewhere in the world cannot be simply copied over here. First of all, they come with a fee, license fee. And more than that, those technologies are for large companies. For us, about 65% of our production comes from small and medium enterprises. So it's very important that we also ensure that they have access to clean energy. And that is the direction in which we are moving. You look at the commitment from the government side, solar rooftops, it's both subsidies as well as to some it's given free. You look at solar pumping, it's again more or less free for the farmers. So we are moving in the right direction to ensure it's a green skill. We do the green skilling, we have green jobs and green energy, and all the way from solar, which is available. Again, the solar panels to be produced in the country, to hydrogen, which we should also be exporting.
But you know, ma'am, that's what the challenge is. India is such a vast country with such a diverse population that implementing all of this on ground is a mammoth task. And the fact that it's not everybody that is going to be ready to adopt renewable energy. There is some hesitation in some segments also. Have you encountered that?
No, I'll answer your question, because that was the case few years back. Today it's the reverse. Because it is something, why not me? Why you are not giving the technology to me?
Achha.
Because they have seen it works, number one. And please go to the remotest of the villages. I was quite surprised going to a place called Dudhwa. I went to the national park. And in a village with 10 houses, there was solar panel, which was really, really surprising. And in a way, it spreads like fire. It's something like once they have seen it, they want it. It gives them comfort. So therefore, it has already gone deep into our rural India, and it is, you show them the technology once, let's not take it, I'll say, they may not be educated. एक होता है पढ़ा हुआ, एक होता है गुड़ा हुआ. वो सब लोग को पता है what is good for them. And they are going to adopt it. It's going to ease their life. It's going to increase their income. Why will they not use it?
I love how you said, Dr. Dhawan, ki there is a competition ki mujhe kyun nahi, why not me? I want this facility. And I think that's the kind of competition that we want to see in the country. But Erik, last word to you. Do you see and do you resonate with Dr. Dhawan the fact that now the adoption, the hesitation to adopt has lessened, and now more and more people want to go the renewable energy way because they see an overall improvement in their life?
Absolutely, and also India has a much more favorable political situation, particularly compared to the US, but also compared to Europe. In the last election in India, there was not one party of any significance who opposed climate action. I mean, true, the Congress party and regional party were opposed to the BJP, but they didn't attack the BJP on green issues. On those issues, they're all the same. I've been working closely with Chief Minister Stalin on Tamil Nadu, because he's a firm opponent to Prime Minister Modi. But the opposition is not on climate issues and environment issues, where Tamil Nadu is moving very, very fast, and the center is also moving fast. So you don't have this substantial group of climate deniers in the political space. That's a huge positive for India. And I think you are absolutely right. People in local India, rural India, they see the benefits. Last year I visited Sanchi, a small town in Madhya Pradesh. Yes, it's a historical town. There's a Buddha was there, or there was strong early days of Buddhism. But now it's a fairly small town, and people saw the enormous benefit of solar. Ladies told me, and also some men, but maybe more ladies, that told me, look, now we have got street lighting at night. We feel a lot more safe going out at night when there is lightning. Farmers told me, look, we can now pump the water by solar. We do not pollute, but we get more water to our agriculture. So that very, very close to people benefits, being safer at night, getting more production agriculture, which people can see, and the price of solar is now record low. 2 weeks ago, Gujarat set something which is close to world record. The combined price of constructing solar with battery is now cheaper than coal. So meaning that it's an enormous benefit for people, and then you will get it. And the solar revolution has been kind of slow until now. It's becoming very, very fast, and you will see it overtaking all over India at a very, very fast pace. If I may also add at the end, this is of course also enormously positive news for the state budget of India. India has no oil. Whenever India is using oil, it's importing it from Saudi Arabia or from Russia or from my nation Norway, from someone else, creating jobs and prosperity in another nation.
Okay.
When India is utilizing the sun or the wind, India is utilizing domestic resources and saving money, adding to the enormous benefit for the people on the ground.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to both of you, Erik Solheim and Dr. Vibha Dhawan, for this enriching session. Thank you all of you to patiently listening to us, and for both of you for joining us and helping us understand the renewable energy sector better. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Shreya. And we ask that you please kindly present Dr. Dhawan with a token of our appreciation, and that is essentially a certificate that you can scan by way of QR code that indicates the trees that we have planted in her name.
And of course, all the speakers this time that we are witnessing on stage, we have multiple trees that are being planned in their names. And of course, this is a special initiative that we are taking forward. Appreciate you joining us here, ma'am. Thank you, Shreya.
Thank you, ladies. All right.